are suggesting that this would be the kindest and the only thing of good recourse that His Majesty the King could do. That's right, King Charles III. This was one of the big royal scandals, some people might say, that a lot of things really were turned on its head. And in the final few years of our late and brilliant monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, many people felt that she had no choice but to sweep up the mess, in order, of course, to make things a little bit easier, not just for herself in the final throes of a terrible illness, but of course for, well, her son. That's right, the Duke of York, Prince Andrew. Now, as many people have gone on record, literally, to say just how bad this particular individual royal was and the teddy bears and everything that go around it, well, suddenly the story is looking dramatically different. And there's only really one person that can actually change the trajectory of this story. Let me explain. Morning, how are you? Nice to see you. This is a big story, isn't it? I mean, it is. I take this very seriously because, as many people know who have watched this show for a long time, I've often said there's two sides to the story, and the bottom line with stories like this, and this is what concerns me, is the fact that we don't have the full levels of truth. And as we now know, over the last few days, this particular individual, Virginia Giuffre Roberts, well, it's all coming out, isn't it? You know, there she was posting to her own Instagram account about this terrible accident that suddenly she had days to live, matter of hours and all sorts of failure. And as I pointed out at the time, and even on a few of the channels across the world that I was reporting for, I said, look, you know, we need a bigger picture. Why on earth would you post this particular picture on it? Now it emerged that this all looks like makeup itself, and consequently there are other lurid headlines attached to this ever-growing story. Now, the true story is, you know, Andrew has always said he has no recognition or ever meeting this particular individual, and nobody actually believed him. Consequently, the ill-fated interview with the BBC Newsnight cemented, some might suggest, his final sort of reputation. But he's always protested his innocence. And as I told you, what was fascinating was, according to an excellent source inside Royal Lodge, well, the bottom line was he actually wanted his day in court with this particular individual. But because of the situation surrounding the up-and-coming Platinum Jubilee, it was felt best to draw a line under it. Perhaps, you know, rightly or wrongly, pay this individual some money, never the figure that the people are saying, but pay this person some money and then hopefully things could move on. But as we saw, they didn't. He was exorcised really from royal life, wasn't invited to certain things, and it must have been very difficult. Now, we still don't know the full, clear picture, but what we do know is that this particular individual, Virginia Giuffre, has a selective memory. And now people are suggesting that His Majesty the King should be more availing to the fact that this should now be allowed to go to a full court proceedings. And this is where this gets really interesting, because it can be down to him. Yes, you know, Andrew could push along independently, but by rights and by royal protocol, he really would need to pass it by his elder brother. Now, if this does go to court, this is going to be, you know, incredible when you think, because really her whole background is going to be thrown into question. Now, as I've pointed out before, what I've been told is that this is a mental illness breakdown, and she had no recollection of actually posting this or indeed why she did it. But there are now other instances emerging. Either way, it's fascinating to see how this story that many people had written off, quite frankly now, is changing literally every hour. And by the way, Andrew still wants his day in court. It just remains to be seen if he ever will be allowed it. It's a developing story. When I know more, you'll know more. Neil Sean, Kensington, London.